You know, I think that the choice for me as a commercial printer, obviously I have the digital aspect in house, so that is my first go-to. And my work tends to be manage that quantity and that kind of thing. However, that said, there's times when I prefer to use traditional, either because of a stock that I particularly want to use, or sometimes the quantities are so great. It could be a paper that I just can't stick to. We did an interesting journal for an OEM. And it was a very beautiful stock that I could not stick to. I tried all my tricks. And so what I did was I foiled the logo traditionally, and then I put a spot varnish on it digitally. So my whole way of thinking when I'm dealing with a client is how do I mix and match? And I love my metallics. I think of them as an embellishment because there's pigments in those inks. It's not like just a toner. I know people fight me on the fluorescent as a embellishment, but I mean I think the metallic inks can definitely hold their own. But I think what just makes me decide which technique to use is, what the quantity is, what the paper stock is, what the feel wants to be. Is a raised feel going to work? Do we want something that's not raised? Now you can always sleek, but sleek is a whole different thing in my mind. And there you, again, you do have restrictions with paper stock and stuff. So I really think it's a per job basis. And as a commercial printer, you should just understand all the different aspects. I mean, Sabine's done that beautiful foil sheet book. That's, what everybody should just know. Funnily enough, they don't.
Yeah.
Nope, they don't.
So, so Chris, you were just saying that you had that application where you foil stamped the logo and came back with digital spot coating, right?
Yes.
So it didn't. So the stock didn't cause a problem with the coating. It was just getting the foil to apply. Is that what you're saying?
It was to put the foil to stick, and then I was able to make the varnish stick on top of the foil.
Okay, gotcha.
And I was able to raise it, so it gave it a cool, almost domed effect,
Right.
which actually was a bit of an accident, but turned out to be real cool. And they when I did the traditional, I didn't get too much of an indent on the reverse side because it was the cover. So you'd have to be pretty savvy to be able to figure out what I actually did. The OEM didn't even know.
Yeah,
We
that's right.
won't tell them because it was a while ago. And but I was shocked it worked. That's how my brain works. Like, how do we solve this? And I just like to have as many tools at my fingertips as I can. I have an amazing guy who does beautiful letterpress if I want that kind of feel. Very close, local. So I can mix and match in one project having both techniques, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But there's obviously jobs that have to be traditional.
Right. Hey, Ryan and Spencer, maybe one of you, because you guys get involved certainly with both more conventional UV coating, and then of course now you're heavily involved from the digital coating and foil aspect. Um, when some decisions, like you probably have customers that have both types of applications or types of capabilities. What do you see when, hey, this makes the most sense to consider a digital embellishment process versus just or not just but or more of a conventional, from a coding side, I'd say. When do those types of decisions come in?
Yeah, I mean, with one of our customers, um, Hatteras, they've got a lot of digital technology, but then they have some offset technology too, right? So they've used they've used digital on both offset um, and digital printing, but for them, if they're embellishing everything off of one of their large run offset runs, they usually will vend that out and do that conventional, right? But so for us, I think we see it most from a volume perspective. I definitely see what Christine was saying with sometimes you have chemistry compatibility issues or even substrate compatibility issues, right? flood coating does help us for that, but we definitely do see sometimes where, because of the digital embellishment process with adding that varnish, there are chemistry issues every now and then with certain substrates.
One other thing that Hatteras pointed out a lot too is they will use it for A/B testings for digital embellishment, right? They'll use that. They'll also use it for prototyping, as well as just getting something into a customer's hands. And even though this may be a job that they are going to run traditionally, being able to have that digital embellishment capability to provide a prototype or even just a short run for them of here's 100, get that going, and then we're going to do the rest traditional. They've been using kind of a hybrid of the both technologies to provide better service to their customers, because as we all know, like, we can look at a screen and go, yeah, where that green area is, it's going to be the foil. And everybody goes, I don't want green. I don't want green. I want that to be gold foil. We're like, no, trust, it will be. But having that powerful statement of, oh, you want that concept, here you go. Oh, also, we did 5 iterations of it. That's what they're using it for.
Interesting. Anybody else have some thoughts? Sabine, I know you always have thoughts. Or
I came in late.
you came in
I'm
a
not
little late. Oh yeah, so we're
sorry.
just
I
talking.
was in back-to-back meetings this morning, so
No problem. But anybody else has some thoughts on, I think that what we wanted to talk about was, when does digital have the best fit from a project standpoint, embellishing either foil in coatings or foil or coatings versus, the more conventional hot stamp or a screen coat, that type of thing. Where does that balance move, or where do those answers come from? And Chris and Spencer and Brian have talked a little bit about, certainly volume has a big factor. I mean, I think two of the big factors are volume and paper stock and substrate, and what it's going down on sometimes probably are two of the factors. But what else lies in that? Sabine, Sean, any?
I'm borrowing
Adrian,
Mike
anybody else?
Scruton. I'm borrowing Mike Scruton because he's not here and he cannot speak up for himself. Intent. We're back to that. I think that is something very profound, Mike. That it comes down to, there's certain things, and Chris said that as well. Some things you can only do traditionally at this point. So you have to see, yes, there are a lot of things, and volume is definitely key factor, but there's certain things where, like, okay, that's just no way. An emboss, a true deboss, you cannot do this with digital yet. So then you have to go back to traditional. So I think that's definitely something to consider. While it is important to tell designers or whoever, brand managers, to say, listen, yes, but here might be an alternative for shorter print runs, because we all know budget is usually king or queen, whichever comes first.
Yeah, and for as late as Sabine joined, I joined even later. Same afternoon.
All right, we have all
same,
the answers, Sean. Between you and I, we got this covered.
I know, it's fine. I jumped on and I'm like, oh, look at the Motley Crew. I've been talking to people all day. It's great. I think you hit the nail on the head, which is if you're looking for the tactile effect of a true die stamp, right? If you're looking for that tactile effect of a true die stamp, where you want to have the impression in a nice thick cover stock or vellum, then the digital technology today, that's probably not the best fit. But where the digital technology excels, I think moreover than the dies is, and we talked a couple of things around A/B test. I heard that you guys at H&B mentioned the A/B test, which is great when you want to iterate really fast. And then for true which is becoming more and more prevalent in the print industry, true variable components, right? Where you need to be able to do something that is so short run that it's a variable of 1, or you want to be able to change the imagery, or it's real limited edition, where just die cost and setup costs are just they're just prohibitive. They're just prohibitive. It's not that you can't do it conventionally, but it just doesn't. I don't know of anybody in the world today that would make sense to create dies for 10 pieces or 50 pieces. It just would be too
Okay, might
costly.
I just correct you there? You have not watched my video about the Safari book. They created 8 pieces with a sculptured emboss.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that was, we're talking exclusivity, we're talking influencer, that kind of level. They created 8 books. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It
Sure.
was mind blowing. So sometimes there is,
No, it's a fair point. There's always the exception to the rule, Sabine.
it is
And it's
definitely the
it's
exception
it's
to the
it's you
rule.
usually find it, by the way.
Thank you.
You,
It, it's my job. No, but it
that's
is
right.
absolutely the exception. Normally, nobody would do this, but
Yeah. I think, John, that's just that's a great point that anybody's looking to do something that's variable data or personalized. You really have very little, especially something that needs to be, something that each piece is personalized and hey, it's digital. That's one of the big advantages that, not many years ago, there wasn't even an option for that with something with, like foil and the digital processes provide that opportunity. And so
Well, and
that's,
don't forget with digital foil, we can play a lot more. I mean, we can it's raised, it's much more tactile. We can put foil on foil, we can put varnish on top of our foil, we can put CMYK on top of our foil. We can do so
right.
many things that we can't do traditionally. So I think from a creative standpoint, the digital way it exceeds traditional. But sometimes you just want that, elegance of a traditional one. But I mean, I love foil on foil. I love a pattern and varnish on foil. You can't do that traditional.
Yeah.
So, I think it's, and I know we're trying to mimic when we try to do a deboss or an emboss, we're trying to mimic the real one, but in some instances, I think it actually, goes beyond.
Yeah, and I think it gives you a different look in a lot of ways. I think Sabine was kind of alluding to, sounds like a project, was it a blind emboss project?
yeah.
That's a
David
whole
Drucker did
different,
this, and he actually won an award from you guys. So
yeah, I think I remember exactly what you're talking about. And
yeah,
then, so that's, a whole different look. If you're talking about something that they want to take an uncoated stock and do a blind emboss, multi-level emboss,
it
not a
was a
digital.
sculptured
They're
emboss.
they're
That
they're
that
hey,
yeah.
that's not going to be any. That's nothing that's going to happen digitally.
Yeah.
But again, as Christine is saying, that hey, doing something like foil over foil and textured coating, UV coating that can be done on the MGI or the that Ryan and Spencer's, it that type of thing can't be done traditionally. So yeah, it's that, hey, what is the customer looking for? I guess that's the other side of this, is that we can talk about what's conventional, what can be done digitally. Well, some of it, it's, you're not going to get the same results. So what look are you wanting? What design are you wanting with it? So those are all things that have to be considered 100%. Mike, what do you think about that? When you get, you've gotten more involved in this in recent months, of course.
Yeah.
What do you see from the things you guys have been doing with the software, your software, and questions that you get, that comes from both a digital standpoint or more conventional as well?
Yeah, I think everything. So you're all right, obviously. And of course, Sabine's particularly right for having said intent. Thank you, Sabine. Um, but of course, there's a bunch of different dimensions here, aren't there? There's what is technically possible with this particular technology, right? And Christine's absolutely right. There are certain times where you basically can only go analog because the digital processes aren't capable of it, right? There'll be other simple use cases where we're saying, well, we're doing a production of one or two or variable or something like this, where digital excels, right? But then Sabine's obviously right that you can do a limited edition, one or two or four, using an analog process if you have the budget to pay for that and the use case justifies it, right? If I want to laminate a menu at the front of my burger restaurant and I'm charging people, $4.50 for a hamburger, right? And I want one of these, I'm probably not going to build a stamp at high cost so I can do a beautifully embossed foiled solution, right? but I might be willing to pay an extra $1.50 to get a foil version of that menu rather than a plain one because maybe some things jump out, right? But I would do it digitally, short run. But on the other hand, if I'm the personal chef for Mark Zuckerberg and I'm coming to his house and his compound and I want to give him him and his dinner guests a beautiful menu and money is no object, right? Then yeah, I may well go for the most beautiful collector item thing, right? And be willing to pay the extra for the full embossed full relief solution, right? So it's
I don't know if you guys can see this. So this was the piece that won an award.
Yeah.
So this is actually copper on the outside. And then they used the same dye for the inlay for the book cover. And there were 8 books printed.
right.
Edge gilding, you name it. They didn't spare any expense. So yes, there are crazy people like that.
But I think it's at the end of the day, I think it comes down to, so what is the customer? What's the budget? What are do you want a special type of paper or do you just want to take whatever stock you've got, right, available to you? And it's all part of the thing. From a design perspective, there's obviously the final aesthetic that you are going for. From a content creation perspective, which is where I'm coming from, it's well, I want my designer to have free reign to do it, and then to be able to apply that design using whatever technology that I have available, whatever substrate that I'm going to be using. I'd like it to be as flexible as possible, because ideally, I was at Sabine's Paper Specs live conference last week, so shameless plug for Sabine. But in that situation, there was an example of somebody who made a book for about bourbon tasting, right? And they had a limited run of beautifully bound, beautifully embossed, beautifully created thing, which was for limited run. But at the same time, they wanted to do another version of the same content, which they wanted to do with a regular soft cover so that they can give it away to a whole bunch of other people at close to zero cost, right, as a promotional item. Well, they were able to take the same content and repurpose it, one bound this way, embossed this, foiled this way for this use case, and another one which was like for presentation box, right? And a lot of people want to be able to reuse this content that they've made. Creating the content can be really expensive by the time you get the photographers in and the production team in and the creative team in there. And if you want to be able to reuse that content for a variety of different cases, you want that flexibility to produce it using different methods from the same source, because that's how you'll get the most out of that content you've created. The same way as people are putting videos on TikTok and posts on Instagram and everything else, right? It's generate the content. Now what can we do with it?
Yeah, that was a good example. And I see this in fundraisers as well, where people create like a normal people version and then the super donor version, which is like, whoa, So, yeah, absolutely right.
Question that anybody can answer, because like Sean or Ryan or Spencer or Chris that you see, customer wise, what types of areas of maybe, I don't know if industries is the right word, but areas where you think because of the growth of digital embellishments, what do you think areas within the print industry have we seen more embellishments happening because digital has come on board and become more mainstream? What areas? I mean, package, I'm talking about areas of print like packaging, direct mail, labels, all those different. Have you seen any areas that digital has really had that impact on, that more of it's happening because of that? Any thoughts on that?
We have a weird little one. It's I don't know, it just kind of came and now it's all over. It's the little teeny things that go on the cigar, little band.
The
Cigar
bands.
bands.
And they're
Wraps,
all
yeah.
Cigar
foil.
bands?
Yeah, and they're beautiful. And we've done a whole bunch and they're all different colors, purple foil, all this crazy shit. It's just like, I don't know. So I mean, I would have never dreamt that one. And he just walked in off the street and said, I want foil on my cigar stuff. And we're like, okay, rock
And
'em.
so what's interesting, so I want to dovetail off that, Christine, because you're spot on with some of these use cases. And what I want to ask, that particular customer segment? I mean, is this what you would consider to be just like boutique kind of cigar, right? I mean, you're not putting these on Swisher Sweets that you get at the 7-Eleven down the road. These are more of the what I'll call bespoke, almost. We all remember the craft beer revolutions from probably 10 years ago, where all of a sudden these microbreweries popped up in every corner store.
Right.
And we are finding at the manufacturer level that in similar verticals, that sort of explosion of smaller run craft, take the word beer out, put in cigars for a moment, is really starting to take off. And we see that in oil, like olive oils and vinegars, like the little boutique olive oils, things you go to little touristy spots that have the wonderful, Tuscan Italian olive oils. Very limited, obviously. Cannabis is a big industry where things are always constantly changing, and they want foil galore and hollow foils and things. It's a very big segment. But I guess, Christina, I wanted to ask the question though: is it like the smaller boutique? Was that customer like a kind of a smaller cigar provider, or were they doing some massive scale project?
Well, I mean, it was thousands of cigars. I mean, thousands
Yeah.
of these
Yeah,
things. So
yeah,
that's a good run for us. I mean, it wasn't like 10 or 20, it was thousands. I think 2001 kind. I mean, I guess there's different kinds, 2001,
yep,
2000 of another. It's probably 10,000 little doodahs in total, you know?
Yeah.
So
sure.
and it was kind of fun, because we never did that before. But
So,
and the other thing we've been doing is posters. I just let me get it because it's so cool.
sure. Well, and I think, while you're getting that, I mean, the 10,000 print runs, right? There was a day where that would have needed to be 100,000 to have any economy of scale for it to make sense. It would have had to be, 10 times the amount. So again, those are some of the areas that I don't want to speak for the HB guys, but those are some of the areas that we're seeing are becoming enabled by digital technology, because it was, at one time thought so cost prohibitive. And now they're recognizing that, oh no, I can do something small that allows us to start to build a business. And so it's all of these little manufacturing vertical areas that at one point had to go to a large like label converter or packaging converter. And today, this type of technology with organizations like Christine's and others are being enabled. Oh, that looks cool.
I know. So I'm doing all these music posters. This
Yeah.
was for Randy Carl. I just did one for Stapleton, who I now I'm in love with. And yeah, we're just doing all these music posters, and they're so cool. They're kind of Art Deco, and like they're thousands, so different stuff that we don't usually do. I there's always something, and I like, I always say that everything's better with a little bit of foil. So it's kind of coming true in some ways.
I think that's a great example. Posters, even shorter runs, as Sean was kind of mentioning, that and there would be a time where, hey, if you wanted to do 1,000 posters and you wanted to put foil all over them, there's no way that would make sense for an event or a bar and grill or anything like that. But now you could run 1,000 and have some specialty spot coatings and foil and use them, for an event and things like that, and really
Chris,
get, a lot out of it.
so Christine, were they sold at the event for like keepsakes? They were not.
Yeah, at the
I assume they were not just like hung up somewhere on the street corners.
No, I think they're like a
Yeah.
memorabilia or
Yeah,
whatever.
memorabilia. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's what I meant. Yeah.
yeah,
They're gorgeous.
Yeah,
yeah. They were
awesome.
kind of fun. So, and Chris Stapleton was the other one.
Nice. Yeah, he
And
is
And
great.
now I'm
God, he's
jealous.
so good. He's so good. And I
Yeah,
love
he
when
is
he
good.
does that Willie Nelson song.
Mm.
Oh my God.
Whiskey River.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, that one, and also didn't treat you well enough. You know that one?
Oh
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Can't remember it, but
yeah,
yeah,
he's one of my
I have that
favorites.
on loop. But yeah, oh God, he's just got the most amazing voice.
Well, if you
And
do another one of those, Christine, I'll pay for it. I'll buy it from you.
even now, Sean has dropped off. Even if it was done on an MGI and not an Harrison printer.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Sean's a great guy. Yeah.
I'm just teasing, of course, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. Um, well,
But back
guys,
to
I
what.
think we're
Oh,
close out of time. Actually, Sabine, you got on late. We did. This is the least amount that you've talked in one session. I'm pretty sure.
I
But
got it
hey,
all out at paper specs.
well,
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
much.
he
Oh, I have a
used
long
it all
email
last
waiting
week.
for you. Don't you worry.
So
All
I'm going to
about cold foil
see.
printing and digital toner, digital foiling, because we need to get this we're confusing designers. I
Yes.
saw this again at our event. We're
And
confusing the heck.
we are actually, I was just working with Christine this week on some definitions. Sabine, I'm going to run those by you too.
Shouldn't we just
and you
all
saw
meet
some
together
things where,
and talk it out? Wouldn't that make life easier than
Yeah.
you gathering things from all different corners of the world?
and we'll talk out
Or
because I
Christine and I sort it out. Between her, we get this done in half an hour, right, Christine?
Right.
No problem.
You keep me on my toes, Sabine.
Yes. Now I know I'm going to see a lot of you guys in
I just-
less than
Can
a
I show you
month from
something
now.
really quick? Can I just show you
Yeah.
something really quick?
Yes.
Okay, so this is interesting. So I just finished these for Sharp. I guess I'm allowed to show it. So there's 3 versions: CMYK, metallic inks only, and then metallic inks and foil and varnish, plus fluorescent pink, of course, my fave. But the cool thing is that how we're presenting these is this costs $2. You can upgrade with 25% and get this one, or 40% and get this one. So it gives people an instant feel on what the percentage uplift is. And it's the golf theme because that's what they're doing at Printing United. But this was a really cool thing to do because I realized, like, I did 3: good, best, better. And of course I like the best because I can
Yeah.
charge them for that. But
Yeah.
it's really interesting when you go that kind of process. And I learned something doing this. So it was kind
Yeah.
of cool.
Oh,
No,
I'd
that's
love to
great.
see
Wanted to
those.
show you that. Just wanted to show you that.
Yeah.
I'll
My
pay you
own
20%
sample.
extra for a set of all 3, Christine.
You can go to the
Right.
Shark booth and you can play the little game. There's a little
Right.
game. And then at the 19th hole, you can have a drink.
Great. Well, for
No, but
everybody,
we want
Joe and
all,
Adrian.
Mike and I want all 3 of them. We want good, better,
Oh,
best,
okay,
not
okay.
just whatever they choose, because that way I can talk about it as well and give you credit.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I
it
do
really,
anyway.
it's kind of phenomenal when you see them side by side.
Mm.
That's on the Fuji press, but it wouldn't matter what press it was on, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's great. All right. Well, I'm going to see everybody that I see pictures of. Adrian, Joe's on here too. Thank you for being on today, guys. Everybody, and I'm going to see most of you down Printing United in a month or so.
Oh my gosh.
And one of the reasons we had talked today a little bit about talking about the different metallic decorating processes, that'll be what we'll be discussing at our breakfast, our FSCA breakfast. So hopefully I'll see all you guys there. Chris, you can get up. You can do it. You can
7:30.
wake up early. Come on, it can happen.
I'm not a morning person.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for jumping on, and we'll stay in touch. We probably won't do one of these in October because it's usually around the time, and we'll be at Printing United, but we'll get back together at the end of the year.
Okay, great.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Take care.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Chester. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Mike. See you guys.